Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Wright, there has been a three-part series by the Colorado Springs Gazette that an investigative reporting that talked about soldiers receiving less than honorable discharges due to minor infractions, and a lot of those soldiers are combat veterans from Iraq and from Afghanistan, who also it was reported that had TBI and post-traumatic stress disorder in some of those instances. The nature of these discharges disallowed these combat veterans from receiving any care under the VA. And so I'm wondering if you, I'm very concerned about this, and I wonder if you can comment on this.
Sir, I can comment on the transition portion, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Woodson to comment on the medical diagnosis portion. So the minor infraction that you talked about could be a multitude of things. These individuals, whether they receive an honorable discharge or whether they receive a less than honorable, would still go through the transition program that all service members leaving the program must go through. During that period of time, they receive not only counseling from the Department of Defense and Department of Labor, they also receive 6 hours of counseling classes from the VA. So what the Secretary of VA is concerned about is even when people leave with a dishonorable discharge, people going into kind of the homeless category. And so he wants that warm handoff through the VA system, and we're working together. Now, your question involved those that may have PTSD or another type of diagnosis that could have related to the dishonorable discharge. And
Less than honorable discharge versus dishonorable. There's a pretty significant
Yes,
difference.
sir, less than honorable versus dishonorable. So I'm going to turn that over to Dr. Woodson because we are doing something to review those cases.
Again, thank you for the question. And again, just to restate, I think at the heart of your question is whether or not some individuals are being discharged with less than honorable discharge, being denied benefits, and in fact have an injury of war. And so we've enhanced our screening and required screening that if someone is being discharged for what is considered bad conduct discharge, that they have to go through certain screening for PTSD and TBI to ensure that that is not a contributing factor. You know, heretofore, there were examples of individuals because, you know, line leadership just was not clinically oriented and someone did a bad thing, but the question was, what was the root cause of that change in behavior? Was it a brain injury or was it PTSD? We now have screening mechanisms to look at those issues.
Sir, if I can follow up on one more thing. At the beginning of a war, we may have diagnosed them as having an adjustment disorder, which is different than PTSD or TBI, of course. So we have rescreened those cases within the services. That doesn't mean we can reverse the discharge because it may not have been, you know, I don't know what the particular issue was that created that particular discharge, but we are working through each and individual case to see if the misdiagnosis was there, which could have resulted in the unfavorable discharge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back. I would just like to see treatment available to these soldiers, Marines, airmen, and sailors who have served this country in combat and are being discharged were discharged for minor infractions.
Mr. Conaway.